On Tuesday, the jury hearing compelling and heartfelt testimony.
She was just a really, really good person.
Maggie Murdaugh's older sister, Marian Proctor, describing shock and anguish the night she learned her sister and nephew had been brutally murdered.
I just couldn't believe it. I didn't think it was true.
And then her fear after the crime that a cold-blooded killer could be on the loose.
I think everybody was afraid, and Alec didn't seem to be afraid.
Proctor says a short time after the murders, she asked Alec if he believed Maggie and Paul suffered, saying he assured her they did not, something she now says is hard to believe. Also in the days after the murders, she testified, Alec was oddly focused on the deadly 2019 boat crash case involving his youngest son, Paul, but never talked with her about a search for the killer.
He said that his number one goal was clearing Paul's name. And I thought that was so strange because my number one goal was to find out who killed my sister and Paul.
The defense trying to paint a different picture of the Murdaughs, introducing a seemingly happy photo of the family about 2 weeks before the murders, even having Maggie's sister describe Alec and Maggie's marriage.
It was good. It wasn't perfect, but Maggie was happy.
Proctor also explaining how she learned of Alec's alleged financial crimes and testifying that Maggie knew about her husband's addiction to opioids.
And what specifically was the concern?
Pills, prescription pain pills.
Also taking the stand Tuesday, Roger Dale Davis Jr., who looked after the Murdaughs' dogs, describing them as a close family.
I've never seen that man even raise his voice at his wife or kids, or his wife. I've never seen him even, none of them argue.
The court battle this morning will be over witness Eddie Smith. He is the man who is accused of helping Alec Murdaugh in a suicide-for-hire plot after the murders. Now, prosecutors haven't said whether they definitely will call Smith to the stand. Defense attorneys saying they look forward to the opportunity to question him. Craig?
Catie Beck for us once again there in South Carolina. Catie, thank you.
All right, we want to turn to Laura Jarrett, NBC senior legal correspondent. Good morning, Laura. So obviously the sister-in-law had testimony to offer, but it also packed an emotional punch as well near the end of the prosecution's
case. Yeah, I think she was there to sort of humanize this person that the jury has heard all of these gruesome details about for the better part of yesterday, you know, gunshot wounds and so much that's really hard to listen to. And I think she was there to say, look, this was my sister. This was somebody I loved. But she's also there to describe sort of these weird interactions that she's having with the defendant after the murders, where he appears not to be that interested in trying to get to the bottom of who actually killed his family. And so she was there to try to say to the jury, look, if something like this had happened to you, wouldn't you want to figure out who did it? And she said he never seemed scared. He never seemed focused on that.
Interesting. The prosecution's laying out its case, but a lot of the write-ups say it's been kind of disjointed. Like they're over here, then they're over here, and they're over here. And it seems things are clear when we see these newscasts. Right. But when you're in the jury box, how is the prosecution done?
Right. We all get the benefit of seeing everything that they haven't seen. You know, there's a Netflix documentary coming out. There's an HBO documentary. They, at least, are not supposed to see any of that. And you wonder whether the prosecution has really been able to connect all of the dots. For instance, they keep introducing this video where you hear Alec at the moment right before the crimes happened. He says he was never near the kennels where this video was taken, but they never explain that that's the reason it's interesting, right? They never sort of have that opportunity, and that's what they're going to have to do in closing arguments. They're going to have to tie all of this together and explain all of those dots that they've tried to introduce.
It's been interesting hearing witness after witness verify that it is, in fact, Alec Murdaugh's voice on that Snapchat video. Let's talk about two potential witnesses that could be called. Cousin Eddie, as he's been called by the prosecution, perhaps, by the state. And this idea, defense attorneys suggesting that they may, in fact, call Alec Murdaugh to the stand. Would you call either of those witnesses?
So I think they're both pretty risky for similar reasons, which is the cross-examination of those witnesses would be pretty ugly. For Cousin Eddie, he's sort of this mysterious character. We've all seen the video of him. The idea is that he's part of this murder-suicide plot, as Catie laid out. The prosecution seems to want to say that the point of doing that was to try to distract and for Alec to say, look, the killer's back on the loose. The other side will say that he was doing it to try to collect insurance money for his son. It's all sort of bizarre. It may seem like a diversion for the jury, but that's certainly prejudicial because it's part of, again, this sort of bizarre set of circumstances. Whether, in fact, they call Alec to the stand, again, risky because they're going to bring in all the financial crimes, and there's plenty to cross-examine him on, too.
Cool. All right, Laura, we shall see. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Laura.
Hey, thanks for watching. Don't miss the Today Show every weekday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 Pacific on our streaming channel, Today All Day. To watch, head to today.com/allday or click the link right here.